So Paul McGillion, back with you again.
I am.
No
I'm
longer
back
on. Yeah, back in Vancouver. Are you just temporarily in Vancouver? Or?
Yes, I just flew in last night. So.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Sweet. Any Stargate while you're up here? Other than the convention?
No,
All
no
right.
Stargate. Yeah, you mean Stargate Universe? No.
Anything Stargate.
Oh,
You've done SG-1 Atlantis. You need a universe cameo
well,
at some
let's see what
point,
happens.
buddy.
You know, let's see what happens. So far, I nothing yet. But they just started the season, so.
All right.
I hope it's going well though.
Yeah. It
Good
is
luck,
going
guys!
well.
For God's sakes, kick it.
All right. So what's been going on in your world? We last spoke with you. You hadn't even started. You hadn't even been resurrected yet. Beckett hadn't.
That's right.
So let's talk about that whole process. But first, what's been going on with you?
I've been great. After we finished the show in October, I went down to Los Angeles and, just been auditioning for new pilots this season and that sort of thing. Been working a little bit here and there, developing a new project with a friend of mine. Worked on a couple of different things. So I've been really well. It's been good. Post Stargate's been great. But Stargate was great too. So it's just it's a new transition to hopefully something exciting.
You still doing a lot of auditioning?
I am, yeah, a lot of auditioning. Right now. Fortunately, I did an episode of 24 this season. So.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah.
24 and as Levinson.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, tell us about that role.
Again, it's 24 is such a close knit show that you can't really talk a lot about what happened.
Is that not aired yet?
It has not aired yet.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's towards the end of this season, so it hasn't even aired yet. So after it aired, I can talk more about it. But it was great to work, and I have a lot of scenes with Kiefer and Carlos Bernard. So that's
Very cool. Sanctuary. You were in the webisodes.
Yes.
Do you think the character of Wexford? Are you still open to that character returning for the Sci-Fi Channel? If they ask you?
Sure,
Okay.
sure. From what I understood, he was going to, but then I never heard back from anybody, so I really don't know. That's more of a question for the producers, I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
I talked about that, or they had spoken to me about him returning in a certain capacity, and as of yet, that hasn't happened. But they're just into their second season now. That may happen, that may not. But they're great people that run the show. So I love Damien Kindler and Martin Wood, obviously, and Amanda. So. Hopefully something comes out of it. But if not, maybe another character or not. See how you never know what happens in storylines. Things happen, things don't. But certainly really innovative television, and I'm wishing them all the best.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're not going to have any problem seeing you very soon. Star Trek is going to be coming out in theaters, I believe, later this month. Are you excited for the premiere?
May 8th.
May 8th.
Next
Excuse
month,
me.
yeah.
That's right.
I'm really excited to be part of that film. Initially, I had read for the role of Scotty, which I think a lot of the Stargate fans know, and I think a lot of them were probably the reason I read for Scotty. So thank you. God bless you. But as the business goes, things change, and it went to a fantastic actor named Simon Pegg, who I'm sure everyone's very familiar with. And I still had the opportunity to play a different role on the show and work with J.J. Abrams and be part of that huge dynasty. So that's pretty cool. Pretty excited about it.
How many days did you shoot?
A handful of days.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you looking forward to finally being able to talk about it?
Yeah, it's a kind of thing. They keep it really tight. Keep a tight rein on it, which is understandable because I think they want to. They want to keep it sort of secret, and you got to respect that, and I certainly do. And I think the less spoilers for a big movie like that get out, I think the better.
Yes.
All I can say, I do have a scene with Kirk, which is kind of cool, and it was great to work on it. And obviously having the support of all the Stargate fans initially for my audition was fantastic. And James Doohan's son, Chris Doohan, publicly endorsed me to play Scotty, which was really cool. I've never met him.
Oh, you
never met him. No, never met him.
Darn.
But I said,
he's a fan of you.
That's very nice. I said if I ever see him, I'll buy him a beer.
Exactly right.
For doing that, but it's honestly to be part of the film of that magnitude is really cool. I was driving back to Vancouver to do a play actually last Christmas, and my manager called and said, "Listen, they want to offer you something on the Stargate film. Are you interested?
Star Trek film, yeah.
Sorry,
yeah.
Stargate, Star Trek.
I know.
Are you interested? And I said, of course I am. What is it? And
Yeah.
they said, well, you have to say yes before they'll tell you. So
that's how it went down, really.
Yeah. And I was somewhere in Oregon driving my Jeep back up to do some theater in Canada. So I came back down and gladly played with those guys and. I met J.J. Abrams, who's just a class act, and I think there's a reason that he's so successful.
So successful.
Yeah, he's such a down to earth person, and I'd love to work with him in a larger capacity at some point in time. But just to see how he runs a set, and just he doesn't even have to demand respect; it's just there, which is a really nice thing. It just seems like a really down to earth, cool guy, and the whole experience was really, really, just fun to be part of.
The internet is really proving that nothing can stay secretive for too long. In the projects that you've done, is Star Trek kind of an anomaly in terms of this is really, really secret, or is this a growing trend throughout Hollywood and Vancouver? You can't. Are the contracts that you sign getting more and more restrictive about what you can or cannot say because of the nature of how information seems to be so it's popping up everywhere.
Yeah,
you can't contain anything.
No, you really can't contain things. But I would think that with a film like that, especially that genre, I think it seemed to be more, from my experience, I haven't had anything that was that secretive until this particular film. So other films I've done, not so much, but this one, because of, I guess, the plot, the storyline, the like I said before, the dynasty of Star Trek, and the Trekkies and the huge fan base it has. I guess they really want to keep it like very top secret until it comes out, which is exciting because I haven't seen it, didn't read a script.
I was going to say you probably didn't get to read the full thing.
No, I don't know what's going on. Yeah,
okay.
I'm just, I think it's going to be great. I mean, from the trailers I've seen, it looks really really cool. So I'm excited to see it as much as anybody else.
So you're doing a lot of theater work, plugging one in here or there.
Yeah, well, I try to, if I can get one or two theater, gigs a year, that'd be great. I really love doing theater. That was the last one I did was at Christmas, but not since then. Maybe in the fall. Working on a film with a friend of mine, Michael P. Northey, who's a great writer. Really, really funny comedic script called The Bad. It's dark comedic. Working on that, so it's going to be an indie feature. Hopefully, we shoot it in the fall. So, kind of co-produce that as well.
How's the economy been on getting jobs up here?
As far as
getting the opportunities available.
I've been down in Los Angeles, so
right. And I'm sorry. Yes. Same. Is it the same?
I think the economy. I think the economy has really affected the industry in a whole. I think it really has. It's. I think people are a little more careful with their dollars. Certainly, advertising budgets are a little constrained, and I think a lot of people that traditionally don't do television, movie stars per se, are now doing television series as sort of a trend that's happening. So the competition is pretty fierce, but I've been doing it for a while now, and I kind of go with the flow. All you can do is your best and give them a little piece of poly, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully.
Poly goes a long way.
Yeah, I hope so.
Keeps going and going.
Thank you for that.
That's right. You're up here for the Stargate Con. Done
Yeah.
several Stargate conventions. You
Yeah.
and I have certainly talked about fans. What are you looking forward to about this week? Is there any part of it that you dread, or is it just like I'm going to sit down and just let it wash over me up on stage?
Yeah, I think you just go there and just I'm really happy to be here. It's great to come back to Vancouver. I've never done a West Coast appearance ever. So
really,
this is my first one ever. So I've never done a West Coast convention. So this is my first time doing the West Coast convention. Never done one in Vancouver. And I've lived here for a number of years, so it's pretty exciting. And I just love seeing all the fans. They're great, and seeing some of my castmates that are going to be here. And,
have you run into Connor yet?
I haven't seen anybody yet. I just got here, and
okay.
you're my
Thank
first
you,
stop.
sir.
GateWorld's my first stop. Stop at GateWorld first. But honestly, I'm excited about it, and it's going to be a great weekend. I saw some of the people in the hallways, and had a little snack earlier, and people seemed they were jazzed about it, excited about it. It's got a great lineup. You got a little bit of Flanagan tomorrow, and you got Amanda and Shanks the next day, and Bob Picardo and Connor Trinier, as I said, and
it's a nice mixed bag.
It's got a nice mixed bag for the fans, and I think that's why they all come here and they love it so much. And it's sort of like the mecca for Stargate is Vancouver, so it's kind of cool to be part of that. I'm excited about it.
You've done the Cowardly Lion. Everybody loves him. Scotsman. Are you eager to get a little bit away from that as an actor? In terms of, not like fans and everything, they love that, but as a performer. Is it time for a little something different?
Yeah, and I have had a lot of things different. That's one of the roles that I had. That's been a great role for me. Such a fun role to play. A Scottish character on a show, and he a big heart. But I've been very fortunate. I've crossed different levels in my career so far. Very dark characters, a lot lighter characters. This one's very dark, so it's interesting to play that as well. I like them all. I like comedic, I like dramatic. It's just having an opportunity and hopefully good writing. Really, helps you along the way.
Is there any character that you will not play? that goes against your conscience? Or does it just for you come down to how the character is written?
Well, I think the character has to have a justifiable end. I think
Okay.
gratuitous violence for the sake of being gratuitous isn't something I'm really interested in.
So nothing like Saw.
Yeah, not really my bag.
And
but,
let's see him come in and Saw 6 or something.
I think for me, if you can see the humanity in the character, I think that's really
Yeah.
something that I look forward to. That being said, if there's a little nugget, a small one scene in a movie that is interesting and something that I'd be interested in, I would definitely look at that, because it doesn't have to be a big role. It just has to be something special. You can make moments. Just a moment.
Mhm.
That's all you want, is a little moment as an actor. So I'm not looking. Doesn't have to be a lead role in something. If there's smaller roles and it's a quality project and you're working with good people, then I'm in.
Do you have a career plan plotted out, or are you going year for year? Just let's try some of this year. I think this is interesting. Do you have a place that you want to be in 10 years?
Absolutely. I would love to continue with the producing of films that I've been fortunate enough to produce other films before, and continue in that vein. I love the independent world as well, but I would like to continue doing television series. If I could, in a perfect world, if I could get an HBO series that has some really edgy, interesting writing, that would be great to be part of. I mean, myself and many other actors, I'm sure, would love to have a part on many of the series like that. Something that is compelling, that has a great dramatic content, and hopefully some comedic aspects to it as well. I think just a full round character. It's not so much. I just want to work constantly as an actor and hopefully better myself as an actor. Through that process. And if that means I'm doing theater or film or television, that we'll see what remains to be seen. That's kind of the nice thing about acting. You never know what's going to happen in a certain degree. I think a lot of actors always hope or aspire to do an interesting series, or hopefully get on a big feature and continue in the feature film world. But to me, I just want to continue working and hopefully progressing in what I do.
Just
and
refining
enjoying
your craft.
Yeah, and enjoying it, and having fun. I mean, I just love acting. So if I can get something that I'm really interested in and having a good time and working with good people, I'm having a good time. That's my dad all said to me. I had a teaching degree, and I still do, but I was. It didn't go away, but when I first started acting, he goes, what the hell are you doing, for God's sake, without acting? For Christ's sake, when are you going to finish that game? And I said, what game? And he says, you're acting, it's a game, for God's sake. I said, Dad, it's
a passion.
I love it. And, he's like, how much you make doing that? And, got a couple of jobs in the X-Files. And I told him, he's like, that's fantastic, that acting. That's great. Love the acting. But he said, he always said to me, he goes, no matter what you do, as long as you're having fun, do it. And I said to him, Dad, you always told me no matter what you do, as long as you're having fun, do it. I'm having fun doing this. He goes, fair enough. Okay, continue. So, as long as you're having fun doing it and you're enjoying what you're doing, I think that's important.
You and I haven't talked since The Kindred. What did you think about that script?
I really enjoyed The Kindred. The part 1 or part 2.
Both of them. What an amazing ending.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Sci-Fi spoiled it for us U.S. boys. We saw it coming a mile away in the trailer.
Oh, really?
Awful.
I didn't know that. Really?
Yeah, you won't believe what happens, and then they show what happens.
Oh,
They
wow.
show that you're there. It's like, why bother tuning in?
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
It was frustrating.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Is the word.
I thought the reveal was really interesting, to have Beckett there at the end, and it was really cool to be able to come back on the show after, being a big part of it, I think, for the first 3 years of the series, and the demise in the episode Sunday, the sudden demise of Beckett, and then to come back and be invited back onto the show again. I was really excited about it, and Alan McCullough wrote the script, the Kindred Part 2, and I just really was excited about, reading it, and I think he had a good sense of the character, which was really interesting, because he hadn't written a lot of Beckett-centric episodes, and it was a heavy Beckett episode, and I was really happy with it, because I thought it really fleshed out the character, and it showed, again, a lot of his humanity, and as an actor coming back and having that opportunity to really say goodbye, because when he went into the stasis pod, you didn't know what was going to happen with him, So it was really, and then seeing him, had time has passed, Dr. Weir was gone.
He's gone.
And, his family didn't know he was gone, and
his mother thinks he's dead, and his mother was his life.
Exactly, and so it's he's lost in a certain ways, and Rodney's his best friend, and that scene between Beckett and McKay in the observation room, I thought was really telling of the character and his sort of, just the state that he was in. It was a really interesting episode, I thought, and it gave me as an actor a lot of room to play. I thought it was a very nice way to go back, and I think very fitting for the return. And again, I think after that, we knew. The audience, you don't know if he's going to come back again or not, but I think people had a sense that he would come back after that. Get him out of the pod at some point in time.
Did they explain to you immediately did Joe or Paul call you and say, okay, he's a clone, or did you get to explore that in the script reading it the first time? How did you get to approach that? What am I, Did you ask yourself that? How are you guys doing this? I'm dead.
Joe and I spoke about that. Joe Malazzi and I spoke about that. He we had a conversation. He called me and we talked about what his idea was, and Paul wrote the script of what the idea was to bring the character back, and he said, "Are you interested?" And I said, "Yeah, let me hear it." And he told me, and I was like, "Absolutely." It sounds really interesting. I thought it was a really clever way to bring the character back, especially when he was taken hostage by Michael Connor-Trinier, who's here this weekend, by the way. Dangerous man. In Misbegotten, in the episode Misbegotten. And reverting
we see what he was doing to him.
Yeah, reverting back to that was really interesting. We when they pick Beckett up and Misbegotten, he's passed out, which we find out really, Connor's character has taken Michael's taken him and obviously is the process of cloning Beckett, which is really interesting, and to, just to see what's happened to him during this year or so. Year and a half or so. I thought it was a really clever way to bring the character back. I don't think people initially saw that coming unless you're in the U.S. and they spoil it for you.
That's right. Just don't watch the previews.
That.
Yeah. Atlantis is over, so I feel a little bit freer to say this. The return of Beckett. Sunday was one of my top 3 favorite shows. It still is. His return. Do you feel that it weakened the dramatic nature of what Sunday was? This character is gone, and it was an awful experience for everyone on the screen. And then all of a sudden, by season 5, hey, I'm back, and I'm basically the old Beckett, and we're not thinking about the old one anymore. They didn't raise the question, what really is he? They didn't have a lot of time exploring Beckett's soul searching. What am I? Where is my soul? Am I the same Beckett? We never saw that. At some point it was just, and I'm preaching, I know, but at some point it just felt like, well, Beckett's back, and tra-la-la, here we go, and we're just moving on. How did you feel about that?
Well,
or did that not even occur to you? I'm just back on the show and glad to be back.
No. Obviously, it occurred to me. When a character goes, that abruptly. I think in a lot of ways, when the character went in Sunday, it was very abrupt and
it was intense.
Yeah, and no one saw it coming. Including me initially. So when something like that happens, I think in a lot of ways, just from what I've heard from fans, they felt ripped off in a lot of ways. I think
with the return,
with the death of Beckett,
with the death
of Beckett. I think in the return, particularly in the episode Kindred. I think there was, which I mentioned, touched upon earlier. I think it flushed the character out a little bit more. It was a true way of saying goodbye when he stepped into the stasis pod. And for me as an actor, I think it was more of a gradual demise of the character rather than sudden.
And abrupt.
Yes.
He gets a chance to write to his mother. We do that a lot.
There's that chance to say goodbye to everybody, and he said, no matter what, I think no matter what, it's a chance to say, it's something I won't regret. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on the lines, but the sense of that, saying goodbye, and I wouldn't take it away from the world, and before he goes in, because, and I think again it showed, Beckett had grown a lot. The humanity of the character had grown a lot over the years. I think initially it was sort of the cowardly lion type of character, and then, comedic fodder. And then it becomes, his heart on his sleeve to a certain degree, and he's got the moralistic aspects of dealing with, the bioethics and the conversion aspect. And I think that started to build up a little bit more. And so the character's growing up a lot by this point in time.
Right. He's not Rambo, but he's definitely not a wimp.
No, he's definitely not Rambo. That's for sure. But I'll leave that to Jason. Not David, Jason.
That's right. That's right.
But I think that was a really nice. Now, as far as it goes from the progression of that into season 5,
because if I may insert, he goes on ice, and there's a big question of whether or not he's ever going to be able to come out of the stasis pod again.
Right.
We have a real issue with this, and then I believe it was the seed.
That's right.
Jennifer Keller spends 5 minutes and solves his problem, and then we move on.
Right.
How was that coming back? and then just continuing that character for you? Did you just...
Well, I love the character. As far as a divisive, as far as coming back into the seed.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Beckett goes into, okay, there's a problem, let me fix it.
That's
And
right.
That happens, and they look to Beckett because they have no one else to look to.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about that episode is it's the first time where Woolsey is introduced to Beckett.
Yes.
And we see this sort of dynamic work, which is really interesting to work with Robert Picardo in that sense, and seeing if this is going to be something that is, is it a challenging thing? Is there trust issues? Which obviously there is. I think the first few episodes of Beckett's return, there's always that kind of like, is that him? Is it a clone? We're not really sure what's going on here with this character.
Will he double cross us? He's Michael's child.
Or, as far as we know, as far as they know, And I think for Beckett, there's a sense of loneliness. So that was interesting as an actor to play that without actually playing it. You kind of have a sense that, you're not being trusted, which is, kind of difficult at times, right? When you're dealing with a scene and people don't trust you, but you think you're the same person you are, I don't know anybody that's really being cloned to be in that situation, but do you know what I'm saying?
Haven't checked
and
them
I
all
think
yet.
it progressed slowly throughout the season. That become a non-issue. Now, that's what they chose to do. And as an actor, you come in and you play what you're given to a certain degree. I think if the show would have went to season 6, I think they could have touched upon those issues a little bit more and more of the history of what happened to him throughout that year and a half that where he's gone. Would have been interesting storylines, but unfortunately the series didn't go past that.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to fully answer your question, but
I understand.
You know what I mean?
But even still, we had episodes like Whispers where you had a great time with a bunch of the girls. There were great moments.
Thank you very much.
Tammy joined us for our podcast, where she's obviously a big U fan,
Thanks.
McGillion fan, and she was the one who really pointed out that you were the reason to watch, because these Beckett episodes were, it was all genuine. And I loved Outsiders, where he really went gung ho, and
Love
he came in and he knew exactly what he had to do, and he did it. So Whispers, to go back, Whispers was so much fun because it was basically myself and Joe Flanagan and the ladies, which was it was a lot of fun. I mean, it was a lot of fun to work on. I mean, the fog was a big issue, and I thought it was a very interesting concept. And Joe Malazzi was so excited about the episode, and so first stab at horror.
Yeah, I mean, so was I, and I think it was just really tongue in cheek and a lot of fun, and to be able to kind of go back and have that sort of dynamic, and I mean, the crew loved it. It was a good episode for the crew as well. Everybody just had lighthearted fun on it, and there were scary aspects of it, and I thought shooting it was really, really fun to shoot the episode, it was really interesting and had a dark, creepy aspect to it that we had never done before and explored over the 5 years on the show. So I thought that was really an interesting way to look at it, and then jumping over to Outsiders, that was sort of more of a classic Beckett episode where a lot of McKay-Beckett interaction, that friendship, has been a big part of the show. Those two characters, were best friends sort of on the show, and then when Beckett passed away and came back again, it was a really interesting dynamic. But to work with David, and then the great part about that episode for me was when Beckett's faced with the Wraith Commander, and he's willing at this point in time, because he's done it before, to give his life up to see if this particular experiment of his own is going to work, and if the Wraith's going to die because of the enzyme,
Exactly.
And that relates back to poisoning the well and the Hoffman experiment.
Exactly. It's all an ongoing tapestry.
Yeah, it's very interesting, how they did that, and I thought that was really, because you do get the comedic aspects of Beckett in that, and then you do get the humanity, which I really like about the character. He can go from the dramatic to the comedic.
Exactly.
Which is really a great thing to have in a character, and that's why I love playing him so much.
And it's not awkward. It's convincing.
Hopefully,
generally.
Thank you.
In Outsiders, Beckett is has such a great concern about biomedical ethics and these sorts of issues. How do you feel about Beckett using himself as a sort of a bioweapon?
In that experiment with the Wraith Commander you're talking about, how he gives
bold.
I thought that was a really pivotal part of that script in Outsiders. I thought that when Beckett says, Rodney, I'll take care of things, and I go in here and see, I thought that really showed, again, relating back to the clone thing, saying, you know what?
What is he?
Trust me.
Yeah.
I am. This is who I am. I am the same guy. I have the same morals. I'm the same person, but I'm an exact replica of what I am. But that being said, I've been through a lot. I don't even want to talk about it. but I know that I'm willing to give my life up for the betterment of mankind. And I thought that was a really poignant moment in that episode for Beckett, juxtaposed to Rodney and Carson stuck in the Wraith Dart,
Yeah,
which was so comedic. But I thought, I think that kind of is a nutshell about the character. I think he wears his heart on his sleeve, and I think that ultimately he is, not for himself. He's for the betterment of humanity. Hopefully,
it seems to be almost a darker moment that
absolutely
he is willing to go to that perhaps the original Beckett may never have gone that far.
I think you possibly not. I think in the episode Duet, though, there is a moment where Beckett he has the gun on the
Wraith,
which is very similar to that in some regards, and there is that moment of humanity where
I'm a doctor.
I'm not going to, but at the same time, I do hear what you're saying. I think that there's stuff that's happened to Beckett where we don't know yet what he's went through, and I think he's. That's what I'm saying. Through the 5 years, he's gained a lot of courage, and he's been scarred in certain ways, emotionally scarred, morally scarred, and I think this was him sacrificing himself, if need be, for the betterment of everybody else. Mm-hmm. So that was a really nice moment, I thought, in that episode.
Well, if outsiders didn't convince fans that the new Beckett was Beckett, no one could convince you. And I think that's really what Malazzi was saying, was this really is him, because he's willing to do anything, and he did.
Yeah, I really like that episode a lot. Thanks.
So, Stargate, the Atlantis movie, it's kind of been put off just a little bit. Do you know whether or not they have plans to bring you back for it? Is it probably going to happen that you're going to have some kind of involvement in it, even if it's just a cameo?
I really don't know. I was asked if I'd be interested in doing it by the producers, and I said absolutely. Okay. And that was quite a while ago, so I haven't heard anything about it. I hope it goes, but they said that I was in it. That was, something they said I'd be open to doing that, and I said absolutely, yes, And I think one interesting thing is, I mentioned to somebody earlier, I was saying, in the Enemy at the Gate, the final episode of the series, I don't know, this is an interesting tidbit, but Beckett in all of season 5 never wore a Scottish flag on his arm, the flag of St. Andrews.
Really? Was that intentional?
Because Beckett wasn't really part of the team anymore, sort of like Doctors Without Borders. And then on the final scene, where Beckett comes back because he has very high level, the ancient technology gene.
Yeah.
He came back and he's the one that flies
Atlantis home,
which is really cool. Joe said you're.
It's cool.
Joe says you're in it. It's a very important part. You're not in it for tons, but you have a big thing to play. And I read it. I'm like, that's pretty cool. Beckett gets to fly. Which I thought was fitting and sort of an homage to a lot of the Beckett fans, which I loved. Because they've been so great to me. And I said to Joe, I called him up and I said, listen, can you do me a favor? Beckett hasn't had a Scottish flag on yet. Would you mind if I got it sewn back on for the last episode of the show, the last scene of the show? And he's like, absolutely. So called down to Wardrobe for me, and Val and the rest of the ladies put the Saltaire back on the old sleeve. So the last scene of the series on the balcony, where
he's home.
He's home. Beckett's home. So that I thought it was really fitting, and I was proud to be part of that scene because it felt like Beckett was through a lot during that whole thing. Through the whole 5 years, Beckett had a heck of a journey.
How'd you hear about the cancellation of the show?
I heard about the cancellation of the show. I think Rachel called me, actually. The lovely Rachel Luttrell, yeah. I think she mentioned it to me.
Was it a shock? Or was
I
it
was
just,
surprised.
like,
I was really surprised. I thought it would have went at least 6 seasons, I thought they were, gaining their stride. Of course I'd been, had a bit of a departure from the show, and then coming back to work, to work on the subsequent episodes. I thought it would have won another season or so, but 100 episodes is nothing to shake a stick at. It's a huge accomplishment in television, certainly these days. So, I think that's something that everybody should be really proud of. I think a lot of the people would love to have done another season, but hopefully there'll be some movies, and obviously they're doing the Stargate universe now. So, I think the Stargate's always open for business.
You'd be open to a new character on universe, so kind of like complete your set on your shelf. I was in SG-1. I was in Atlantis.
Sure.
I think it's.
Let's see what happens. Of course, yeah.
So I wish them all the best, definitely.
Oh, absolutely. I'm a huge fan of Robert Carlyle. And being a fellow Scot, I was born in Scotland. Maybe they'll bring Beckett over as his brother.
He plays little brother.
Thank you.
Oh,
It'd be lovely. It'd be great. Honestly, it's such a cool, cool show to work on. It's been so great to me over the years. I mean, I've traveled all over the world, went to conventions like this, and played a really great character. So what else can you ask for? Really, it's been a great experience. So I'm very happy with it.
It's one thing for when you do a show that is really good, like poor Firefly. What a great show.
Right.
Only after the fact really everyone recognized it. But
That's
still, right. Atlantis the television series is over, and we've got conventions like this around the world every couple weeks.
It's pretty amazing.
It's got to be rewarding to know that is continuing on.
Well, certainly,
people still want that product.
Absolutely. I never thought, when I started, doing Atlantis, that 3 years down the road there'd be a Scottish pipe band rally for my character with a bunch of girls showing their underwear to the press and stuff. I mean, it's the kind of show. It's a phenomenon. It really is. And Stargate has such a huge fan base and a loyal fan base, and I think all the actors are very fortunate to be part of it. It's been something that we've met so many different people. We traveled all over the world and had a chance to touch people in many different ways, dramatically and comedically. I think with the show, that's what it's a classic sci-fi, and I love that about it.